Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant because obviously you're just following on from the Data Centre Association, so it's absolutely perfectly timed anyway, Sean. So I'll leave it with you now, and we'll do some Q&A afterwards.
Okay, so we're actually live, so we crack on, can we?
Live and ready to go. Cheers, Sean.
Okay, thank you. So, hello, folks. Welcome to Become Data Iconic, and it's a really important subject. It's a blueprint for analytics success, and we designed this to help you build a world-class data-driven culture. Okay, and my name is Sean Price. I'm the Chief Strategist for Perfect Image. I want to focus your minds on a key fact as we start this presentation. And when you think about sort of successful analytics, only sort of 10% is actually related to that technology implementation, and 90% is change. Okay, I mean, it's really stark, and that's why you see so many failures, because people don't necessarily put enough effort into the change and the culture process of data. So today, I'm going to explore the 8 key fundamentals of a blueprint. Okay, but first, I want to start with a murder story. Of course, as you do all presentations, you always have a murder story. So it's a very personal story to me. And you get out of bed. I used to work for the police. You get out of bed, jump out of bed, you go to work, and first thing you do, you tend to read the incident report, what's happened overnight. And on this occasion, there was a terrible murder. The guy on the left, Jeffrey Barry, he murdered a refugee living here called Kamel Ahmad. Terrible murder, stabbed to death, had his eyes gouged out, and many other things. It was even recorded actually on CCTV when Jeffrey Barry, schizophrenic, phoned it in. It was on the CCTV in the residence that he was living. Many issues with this case, safeguarding review, lots of lessons to be learned. And that's, it happens frequently around, and always lessons to be learned. At the same time, once working in police, we had an app in testing. I'll make sure it's very clear, in testing, and it was a predictive app that was measuring offender risk. Okay, so it was calculating all the people connected to offences in Somerset, scoring, and critically building the context around that risk. It wasn't just a risk score, it was the why behind that, if that makes sense. And when I opened that application up to check the same day, lo and behold, our Mr. Barry, the offender there, was at the top of the risk score, and also we were able to measure escalation of risk. He was escalating in risk and at the top. From that point, I mean, that changed the way that I view data in an organisation. Not joining the dots, it's a common thing, always comes up. This application was joining the dots. And of course, as you can imagine, what we did, we went on to roll that out, and it's being used daily now in the police force where I used to work. So really powerful eye-opener for the organisation about how data can really transform traditional processes, things that people can't do at scale. So setting the scene around how the importance of data is, I really wanted to focus on the wider picture that all our public sector is going through. Why is a data-driven culture so important? And we know that we've had huge challenges in the austere years in public sector. And folks, it's going to get harder, isn't it? You can see it coming. It's here already, actually. It's been a tough year with COVID. But how confident are you that you're able to tackle all of these areas in the burning platform? When I was working, I wanted to apply analytics to all of these areas. Yeah. And data has been so much in the forefront of our minds in the response to COVID. But there's so many more areas where it can really make a difference to not just maintain delivery of the service, but actually improve it as well. So that opportunity, and you can see it, there's lots of research has been carried out in this area, and all the evidence indicates that very little critical information is actually being used and actioned. Okay, there's a blizzard of this information out there in our digital systems all over the place. And we need to mine it and extract it for insight, and decision making, and ultimately action to drive outcomes. And then the figures you see there only 10% relevant data is being used for analysis, only 10%, and most of that's unstructured, locked up. 32% say that executives say that they can create value from data. That's not a lot, is it? And actually, you know, a very small amount feel, 24%, actually feel that they're data literate, actually understand to read, write, and argue with data, which is so important, you know, when you look at the significance of trends and data, seasonality, cyclicity, all of those things that you get with your data. So, you know, what are my key areas to sort of support, you know, a change about how we view and how we implement analytics? So I've got 8 key areas, and we're going to start with leadership. Okay, this is probably, you know, probably the most important one for you to consider. Okay, and during, you know, my career, I've been fortunate enough to work with some absolutely brilliant leaders, and fortunate enough to work with some absolutely terrible ones, awful ones as well. And you know, you learn as much, don't you, from the terrible ones as you do from the great ones. And you know, it starts here. The fundamental point I'm going to make now is that analytics is a strategic imperative. Okay, mission critical. It's vital for the success of the organisation. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's being used to drive outcomes such as understanding, reducing demand, improving sort of quality, managing risk. That story at the start is all about understanding, prioritizing, and managing risk. Yeah, driving up productivity, improving proactivity, often lost when you're, you know, up against it in terms of demand in a public sector organisation. And you know, ultimately, what you're looking to do is improve your overall levels of assurance in the organisation, and analytics can help you do that. And of course, what you want to do, what I see as the most successful way, is something called collaborative leadership, from the top but all the way through the levels of the organisation. And you know, only when you get true collaborative leadership is where you'll get outstanding results being delivered on your analytics journey. And some common enablers around leadership. So I mentioned that, you know, data needs to be positioned as a strategic imperative. Yeah, but also, for example, be ambitious, super ambitious. You know, implement all areas what we call the business intelligence curve. So, you know, from your descriptive, diagnostic, your predictive, your prescriptive analytics, you know, all the way through. Okay, you know, and you see those successful organisations getting more competitive when they do that. As again, per the story, we were using predictive analytics at the start to be preventative. Yeah, things you couldn't do without having that kind of technology. Another area is aligning the executive leadership team and the business leads throughout the organisation. So quite often you see it's a technology project, it just gets implemented, and we hope that people start using it and doing stuff with it. But actually, you need to build accountability into the analytics program. Yeah, so that people are using the information, making decisions from the information all the way through. Focus not just on the internal world as well, but on the external world. Yeah, you see successful organisations being very, very public, front-facing with their analytics. You know, that really improves transparency. But the key thing about that is about confidence, that you understand your business, but you also understand your business and you're doing something about it. Being really open is really, really key. The other area I think around leadership is having a culture, an innovation culture that really focuses on problem solving with data, understanding the power of a solution-led analytics culture. Yeah, and you know, connecting to those business problems. You know, that's a way of solving, leading with data, solving things that traditionally would have been done differently. So that's really, really important as well. My next area in terms of the blueprint is it's all about, you know, feeling the pain. And what I mean by that, seeing it, feeling it, and touching it. And you know, you really need, your technology teams really, really need to understand the business. Okay, what keeps people awake at night? So your frontline staff, whether you're a social worker, whether you're a police officer, whether you work in a hospital, a nurse, a doctor, you know, what is it that's keeping awake? You find when you ask the questions, a lot of people are worried they've missed things. Okay, because a lot of the data just isn't joined up. Okay, it's disparate, it's in multiple sources. And you know, the traditional ways of working it's carrying inherent risk there because that safety net around the data isn't there. And if you go and truly spend time with them, go to daily tasking meetings, find out what the business is really about from a technology point of view, you really start to connect the pain points for delivery to the strategic plan of the organisation. Make it live and breathe. And I think having that empathy with the challenges, the technology teams which traditionally maybe sat out of the way of the business, that is vital that you get them out there, and leaders as well, executive teams, go out there and ask those powerful questions that seek to understand those critical issues. And where we see a data-driven world, the other really area is to find all your data in the organisation. How much data is in there that you just don't even know about? Free the data, understand it, to create your insight, scale and size the issues in the organisation from a very evidence-based point of view from that data, and bring the technology and the business together from that process. And of course, what you can do is build this into your already probably existing planning processes, your organisational assessment. When you look at your people, process, system, external, internal, all of those things, and connect a line of sight from the plan all the way down through to the front line. And then, of course, what you want to do is start to build collaborative solutions that connect analytics to the operating model. Roles and processes, all driving outcome-based action. My third area is about excitement. You don't see this on project plans. It doesn't say create excitement in the organisation. But when I was working in Avon Somerset Police and in my other roles and working with customers, I wake up every morning with nuclear levels of energy, to change traditional ways of working. I want to push the boundaries. I want my team to push the boundaries about how data is used. And of course, what you do, you start to bust cultural myths along the way with that. So finding your data, building apps that look to solve those business problems and cultural issues. And the sort of things we do is go to our executive team, the chief officers, for example, chief constable, every 2 weeks, and start to push innovation towards them. So traditionally, quite often, it'd be the other way around. Always the executive team trying to push data teams to show me more of this. I don't understand this. Show me. Actually, turn it around the other way and start pushing towards them some incredible insight that will really rock their world. And that tin opening, of the organisation, making a transparency of data, it really just start to it does drop the jaws to the floor. And when you see that the actual absolute real joy is when you produce that actionable intelligence, not just information or figures, but information and data that's going to allow decision making and action, certainly for our frontline colleagues. Not so many compliance metrics. It has to be a system that people are confident to use because it's for the greater good. When we talk about engagement and getting the frontline people in your organisation, enabling services, etc., on board, what people love to do, they love to be part of that design process. They're thirsty for that. They want to be shaping what the analytics does and how it works and how it helps them. So I would always say that for example, working in the police thing, you'd have apps built by cops for the cops. How much time can you save your frontline colleagues? Always ask those sorts of questions. Can we make it easier for you? Can we sort of transform those traditional ways and build this stuff into the operating model of the organisation? Role specific apps. Of course, that helps with accountability as well, but functional specific apps as well, maybe. And can you build those analytics into the daily and weekly tasking processes? So the real rhythm and heart of an organisation. Get mission critical stuff. And when you start to do those kind of things, that's when you get the real engagement. And that collaborative partnership with the business is when you bring that technology and people, business people together. That's really where you start to get the magic happening. and they get absolutely excited by data, excited by what it's going to do for them. Of course, without getting the kit in place, you're not going to get anything out. So, again, it's really important that you have the right stack. And, it says at the top there in the bubbles, free it, find it, understand it, and action it. But, it starts with the data integration piece. So whether you're moving information into a warehouse, into a data lake, you're streaming it in near real time or real time, you've got to get that data processed in a fit for purpose quality element. So you want to be moving that, for example, then into a cataloging system. Why? Because that gives you security, gives you control. It enables you to shop for the data in a confident way, publish that data for the analytics process. And when you think about that analytics process, well, everything from self-serve, embedded, mobile analytics, chatbots, conversational analytics, reporting and alerting, and at the other end, the advanced analytics. So, without getting this stuff in place, it isn't easy. So you do need to have a bit of a strategy and an infrastructure piece going on as well. I think what's also important, my number 5 on the list, is about augmented intelligence. So get up the business intelligence curve, okay? And I talked a little while ago, raw data, descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and scenario modeling. Basically, the further you go up that in terms of use of the advanced analytics, it correlates with your success as an organization. And that's quite well documented in many of the literature pieces out there. Go and have a look at the Gartner BI curve, for example. And the biggest problem I see is that people are quite scared to go on this journey, even though it has significant advantages for the organization and the business you work for. They're not doing it, but you can get on that journey, and you can do it safely, and you can do it securely. And of course, ultimately, what this kind of technique does, it allows you to ensure that your scarce resources operate at a higher level. It's doing all the legwork for you. And something that could take analysts many hours or days or even weeks to do, and very sporadic in terms of the work, it can do it in an augmented and automated way. But of course, what you always need to do is make sure that there's a professional at the end of it. The professional judgment is paramount. So never forget, building it into, again, proper tasking processes, not just computer says yes or no. And what kind of things can you do? Well, can you predict demand and capacity requirements, so your resources for every hour of the day? Where I used to work and organizations I work with, we can do that. If you worked in local authority, for example, can you predict risk, so vulnerability risk, for example? Worked in policing, as my murder story, can you predict offender risk, escalation of risk? If you worked in a hospital, can you predict readmission risk, length of stay, bed management levels? Okay, and once you acquire that predictive capability, it's all about your creativity and then your ability to create these accurate models, I guess, or accurate models to a point of where they're better than traditional ways of working. The next area, area 6, is about working fast and proportionate to risk. You find actually frequently that these things are not connected very well, and linked to your ambition, you really want to be getting analytics absolutely return on investment super quick. So you're looking to generate apps, for example, solutions every 2 to 3 weeks once that infrastructure is in place. That keeps the momentum of transformation and that excitement in the organization when you're seeing this sort of stuff coming out so frequently. Use an agile approach, great methodology for doing it, and don't create too many board meetings because it just slows stuff down. You need to be fast in the organization. So important. And also this bit, and I say proportionate to risk, this is making sure if you've got that good infrastructure in place, it will be secure. You can monitor, you can do the compliance thing. And again, if you have that, it does create a confidence to move at pace. So I think these things do sort of connect together quite nicely. And talking of protection of information, you really need to be embracing data protection ethics. Yeah, I think it's vital to bring those experts in your organisations in early, and often. And make sure the goal is the same, it's a common goal, but also challenge the traditional approaches and highlight the benefits of new tech. Like with the predictive modelling, well, you can audit that. Previously, decisions might have been made, finger in the air. We think that person is the highest risk, or we'll go and target that person because of. But actually, that's hidden in the organisation. When you're risk scoring, 100,000 people in the organisation, that's all auditable. The model is auditable. Okay, decisions can be tracked against that. So again, there are a lot of advantages around data protection and technology. Again, with all the clever cataloguing, all that data prep is all there to see how it's been done. Getting your data dictionaries. Maybe even business side, start creating ethics committees and other forums to make sure that your use of data is ethical and secure. So there's lots of different great ways to be able to embrace data protection and ethics. And my number 8, this is about data literacy. Okay, so firstly, we go back to the start of the presentation. We saw that not many people feel data literate to exploit information in the best possible way. So what you can do, you can baseline your skills. Yeah, you can measure them, measure how data literate people are. You can ensure that your products are designed with frictionless design. That means it's designed to be. The interface and the information that comes out it's not difficult to use. Again, just simple criteria around the development protocols that you use can help support a much better experience for the user. Also, always the key thing I'd say to my business intelligence teams when I was running them is make sure that if it's not delivering actionable intelligence, it probably shouldn't be there. Yeah, it's all about how far can you get upstream in terms of the action and the intelligence for people to use. So that's so important that you build that into your development process. And you can also even start to find experts in the organisation, people that are really good, create DigiSpocs. Yeah, get a network of DigiSpocs that support colleagues in using information and improving their data literacy. So lots of great things that you can do. And what does success look like? Well, here's an example, from Avon Somerset Police here, and they've got 3,500. I think we've got more than that now actually. Named users, 500 to 700 a day use the system. I think now it's closer to nearly 900. 60 to 80% operational use of analytics in the organisation. So again, who isn't using it? Who is using it? Share the good practice, and that's really a good starting point for understanding how well you're embedding analytics is its use. Okay, and you can measure those things. The next thing, in terms of really, this is about the effectiveness of the deployment, I guess, is again you can measure this as well. Start to find out, is it making a difference? Yeah. So we're talking here about, are people better informed? I hope you would be if you've designed analytics correctly. Are they saving time? So for example, here officers in Somerset, nearly half a day a week being saved. You give that back to an organisation. There's a huge amount of benefit there for people. And this is absolutely fundamental to pulse survey this over time during the analytics rollout to understand how good that your implementation is in terms of analytics. Make it very visible as well. Tell the stories about how people are using it. We did that frequently. Short stories that even the Chief Constable would go out and tell stories about how the analytics was being used to help catch burglars. In fact, there was a recent BBC story video on that as well, I think. So great stuff. And then the big picture. So, if you do get your data-driven culture right, and you get it landing in the organization, you then start to see the big ticket things start to happen. So fundamentally, you see your organization sustaining and even improving. You see some examples here: Bromley, Somerset, Calderdale, all these other, and there's lots out there. But fundamentally, it creates a confidence in the organisation internally and externally, and that's vitally important for moving forward. Now, I've whipped through this at lightning speed. I have no idea what anyone's thinking because I can't see anyone or hear anyone just talking to my screen. But what I'd like to do is to invite, it is invitation only, but we run a series at Perfect Image called Become Data Iconic, and we have, it's 9 episodes, and it covers all of the blueprint, and we have some great special guests, some great leaders in the world to come along and give inputs. We have a roundtable approach where we discuss and peers around the table and people from different organisations, different sectors come together and discuss challenges and new ways of working, innovation. They share stuff, and we have some industry content for myself as well, for things like that. So we'd like to invite people that are really interested around learning more about the blueprints to our series, and also I believe you can book meetings with the Perfect Image team as well today and in the future, because going back to it, if you're thinking about analytics, 10% is technology, 90% is change. So we're here to help you with that whole process. So thank you very much for your time today. I'm sorry it was a big blast through, but hopefully you've taken away something of interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Absolutely brilliant. Very much a whistle-stop tour, as you mentioned there. So I will just invite delegates again, just to make sure we're taking the details down. We're going to send the presentation slides and the presentation to you all post-conference as well. But we've not really got much time, Sean. But let's get a quick question out, if that's okay with you, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Absolutely
perfect. In the presentation overview, you mentioned that only 10% of business-related data is being used for analytics, which to me is absolutely shocking. So I just wondered if there's kind of a call to action. What can public sector organisations be doing right now to try and help increase that figure, really?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is to get your analytics strategy in place. So you need to understand what data do you have. Connect your challenges to that data and start to map what technology you need to help increase that. Start to talk to people. You go out again in the organisation to say, what are you using? What don't you have? What have you got? And you basically you follow a bit of a checklist, but you follow a kind of like set of guidelines to help you understand why only 10%, and then start to sort of look to say, what do we do now differently to change that? But it's all got to be built into your strategy at the end of the day.
Of course. Well, hopefully you can help a few people with that today as well, post-conference, Sean. So
I hope so. Again, it's very exciting.
And yeah, we're connected on LinkedIn as well, so keep up the good work on LinkedIn as well, yeah. Sean. I follow you heavily on there.
Yeah, you're great. And no data dogs today, I'm afraid.
Indeed. Right, Sean, thank you again for being involved. As mentioned, delegates, you will see in the post-event pack all Sean's information and details to follow up. So thank you again, Sean, and take care.
No problem. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.